Welcome to our latest video, where we dive headfirst into the climax of Richard Dawkins' The Blind Watchmaker, wrapping up a journey through the book's deep dive into evolution versus creationism. If you've missed our previous episodes, don't worry, you're just in time for the grand finale. Hosts of The Vanquished is the name of the last chapter in Dawkins's The Blind Watchmaker. In his eyes, the opponents of the theory are vanquished by their very existence. His entire book is filled with strained and strange excuses for the heavy arguments against evolution. Is it really so simple to think about 100,000 intermediate stages between nothing and a seeing eye, when each stage provides a certain percentage of vision that gives an advantage? On the question of how to explain the appearance of life when the chance is so small and unrealistic, Dawkins writes, "Suppose that, by our best guess, the probability of spontaneous appearance is a very, very small number, say 1 in a billion. Clearly, this probability is too small to give us any hope of repeating such a discounted event, such a wonderful miracle as the appearance of life in our laboratory experiments. But if we assume, and we are certainly entitled to assume for the sake of argument, that life appeared only once in the entire universe, it follows that we are entitled to include a very large amount of luck in the theory, because there are so many planets in the universe where life could have appeared. If there are 100 billion such planets, as one estimate claims, then this number is 100 billion times greater than that probability of spontaneous appearance, the Blind Watchmaker, p. 160. Let's grant Dawkins the grace of erring in the generous fictional number of life appearing 1 in a billion, and assume the rest of the development whose chances are infinitely less than the number of atoms in the universe. And let's focus on his main argument, reminiscent of the multiverse argument, no less foolish than it. What is the meaning of all the galaxies existing in the world when we have no access to them? We have not checked, and of course we cannot check all the other galaxies in the universe, and therefore they cannot be included in the statistical calculation. According to this approach, we could negate all research and all experiments in reality. A scientific experiment conducted on 5 mice is meaningless. Since there are, for the sake of argument, 5 billion mice in the world, we are entitled to include a very large amount of luck in the experiment. The mistake is, of course, that the experiment covered only 5 mice, so all the rest that were not tested are meaningless to us. And how does Dawkins deal with the absence of intermediate fossils? As usual, he does not understand the question at all. Since a new species develops in a separate niche of reproductive isolation, there must be jumps in the layers when the species leaves the niche of change, where it became another species. To his detriment, he returned as a new species and there exterminated his ancient ancestors and caused the layer to jump directly to him, the Blind Watchmaker, p. 256. But what about the layers of that isolated niche? And what about the synthesis of all the excavations after all? Nowhere have species been found that could be considered intermediate fossils. On the famous monkey's analogy by Penzias, Dawkins responds with one of his favourite games, computer simulation. Since natural selection exploits random advantages, Dawkins expects the computer to choose a sequence of 29 letters randomly until a specific sentence is formed, and indeed after relatively few attempts, the sentence appears randomly. Except here Dawkins instructed the computer to lock in on each correct letter. When the expected sentence is, "I think it looks like a rabbit," as soon as the letter I appears at the beginning of the sequence, it is locked there and waits for the rest of the sentence. Whereas in reality it is not so. Parts and properties required to create organs and systems that do not yet exist do not know to lock in their condition, so that in due time a random mutation will complete them for their purpose. And of course there is no comparison between a sequence of 29 letters and the vast amounts of information found in nature. No wonder The Economist writes, as quoted on the book's cover, "With solid arguments and direct hits, this is an enjoyable book. It deals with Darwin's opponents and crushes them in the logic mill. It seems that with such a mill, one cannot even pave a small path." It seems that since the modern atheist is forced to choose the theory of evolution, he does not bother to summarize a fair summary of the data, And already in the previous generation, Professor T. Dwight from Harvard University wrote, "We are presented with a wonderful vision that precisely when scientists all agree that no part of Darwin's method has a significant impact, and the method as a whole is not only unproven, but also impossible, the half-educated masses have adopted the idea that it was accepted as a basic fact." Thanks for watching. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more brainy breakdowns and scientific shenanigans. Catch you on the flip side, where we continue to explore the mysteries of the universe, one witty remark at a time.